You know, it's just occurred to me we really haven't had a completely successful test of this equipment.
I blame myself.
So do I.
No sense worrying about it now.
The Rock of Salvation, 107.1 KOUJ LP, Norman, Oklahoma.
KOUJ 107.1 FM, KOUJ.org. One of the phone lines. Andrew, how's it going, buddy?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing awesome, man. First of all, let me kick this show off right by just saying Project 86. It is an honor to get to interview you guys tonight. Someone that's been in the Christian music industry as long as I've been DJing at radio stations since the late 90s, mid to late 90s. And Project 86 was one of those bands that have lasted throughout the test of time.
Well, thanks so much, man. The pleasure's all mine.
So let's talk about the band, man. So what is it that's been able to keep you guys reinvent yourself and keep going to where you've made it this many years?
You know, I've been thinking about this a lot recently because I started a new podcast where I'm kind of going through the story of the band and the history for the first episode, and so it's forced me to kind of relive a lot of the stories and motivations as to why we started the band. And I remember when we started the band, you know, we didn't have a goal besides making music that we loved. You know what I mean? Like, that was an end in and of itself. And I think that has stayed with us over the last 2 decades, is every time we go to write a new piece of music or a new record, because we have 10 studio albums now, there's an excitement just to make music. We just love the process and the end of just writing songs that we're attached to emotionally. And so pushing ourselves to try new things musically and to reinvent ourselves musically from record to record, I think, is the thing that's given the band longevity.
Yes, because you guys have been able to do it, and that's one of the things, you know, there's a few bands out there, you guys, Spoken, you know, and Demon Hunter stuff, that's been able to go the test of time and still make music that is being played on the radio. So that's a pretty big feat. And, you know, like I said, you guys have been legendary about it because, you know, I remember when I first got into radio at KOKF 91, you guys were like kind of the talk. It was like, there's this band, they're heavy, they're wild, they're crazy. And, you know, so you guys had a following, and it's just been able to carry on. You guys have been able to keep fans growing each and every album. And that's a pretty awesome thing to do because, you know, sometimes people's like, well, they change the sound. We really don't like the new sound they're doing. But everybody I know that's been a Project 86 fan has like, man, they keep putting out this album after album of good music, which is that's a pretty cool statement.
Well, that's a huge compliment, man, and I really appreciate that. And that resonates very deeply with me because again, getting back to the beginning of the band, we only had a few real goals. One was to have our own unique sound. Like, we never wanted to be like the Christian version of something else, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, it does, because so many times you're like, when you say a band, you'll be like, well, like Barren Cross, man, they're the Christian version of Iron Maiden, you know. It's like, so I totally get what you're saying, because a lot of time when people say a band name, they try to assert it with a secular name so people understand. But Project 86 has always had a Project 86 standing.
Yeah, and I think, again, it gets back to the music for us. The goal was always to write from a deep place, you know, lyrics that would document real experiences in our lives and present a unique voice within the confines of rock music or heavy music. And I think lyrically and vocally and musically, that's always been a really important thing to the band. And not making the same record over and over again. We always try to pull from a different place from an influence perspective with each record while not changing our core sound, you know. So, yeah, man, I really appreciate the kind words, and the longevity of the band speaks volumes to the support of our fans. They've been loyal over 2 decades.
Yeah. So what's some of the, like, you guys have been around, you've been all across America and stuff, and so out touring and stuff, what are some of the places that you know a Project 86 show is going to be a place that you know you're going to step in and it's going to be like family?
In the United States, I would say the two cities that aren't like close to home, that over the years I have the most fond memories of just like over the top, really great crowds who are really into the music are Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Columbus, Ohio, for whatever reason. Those have been our two homes away from home. And the band is from Orange County, California, so we have a lot of, memories from great shows over the years in Southern California. But in the United States, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Columbus, Ohio, and then outside the United States, the German fans are the best. Like, whenever we play shows in Germany, they're always great. There's just such a great rock audience there in that country. So that's probably the number one place to play for us outside the U.S.
That's cool. Germany, man, they rock out there. I've got a lot of friends that a lot of bands that went out and did the festival there a couple weeks ago, and they were sending back videos. Those Germans, they rock hard. That is for sure.
Yeah, we've had some of our best shows in Germany, especially in recent history.
Yeah, the Loud and Proud festival was just there. So, but man, tell us about the newer project and stuff, and about the writing and how you guys put that project together.
Well, the most recent album is called Sheep Among Wolves, and that was our third crowd-funded effort. So, in other words, we've done the last three albums via direct partnership with the fans. We did this project on Pledge Music. And this was a 2-year campaign where we released one song a month, and we also released an additional EP of music. So 15 songs stretched out over 15 months, and then a 20th anniversary tour to go along with that. And, musically, I think it really kind of hit the high points of what makes a Project 86 record a Project 86 record, which is dynamics from song to song. There's moody, melodic moments, haunting moments, and some really, heavier rocking moments as well. And we've got some memorable songs on this release. Some of the favorites are MHS, which is track 1, and Sheep Among Wolves, which is the title track. We've gotten some really great critical response from the fans. It's another, in my opinion, my biased opinion, worthy Project 86 record of the rest of our catalog.
Sweet. Well, we have Sheep Among Wolves actually queued up to play. So let's talk about that song right quick before we let the people out there listening hear it. So give us some background. Let us know. Let's talk about the song Sheep Among Wolves.
Well, the song Sheep Among Wolves, in contrast to a lot of different albums where there's a title track on the album, in other words, where the name of the album matches a song on the album, the subject matter does not match the album title directly. It's two different meanings. This song is actually, more than most of our songs, kind of a double meaning. It's not about the thing that it sounds to be about. It's really a metaphor for what it's like living your entire life in a rock band where you're touring the world and you kind of have this unorthodox, almost superhuman lifestyle where you're up super late and you sleep during the day and you travel from town to town, and while most people are sleeping, you're doing your job. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a metaphor for the unorthodox lifestyle of living in a touring band.
Cool. So we're going to play it right quick for the people out there listening, and we'll come back with Project 86 and Andrew. So right now, getting to the music, this is Sheep Among Wolves on KUJ 107.1 FM, KUJ.org. KOUJ 1071 FM, KJ.org, Project 86, Sheep Among Wolves. Getting back to the phone lines with Andrew. Dude, there was your song. Hello? Andrew?
I'm here, brother.
Okay.
I'm here.
Howdy. So we just got through playing Sheep Among Wolves, which is your latest song we're playing here at the station, and we add that as our honorable mention. Every week we do a top 7 at 7 according to Billboard's top charts, and we pick out a song that we think that is going to be breaking in the charts. A few weeks back we was actually talking about Sheep Among Wolves and that song, and it was our honorable mention. So definitely one of the songs we got in rotation here. We love that song. And so getting back to you and the future of Project 86. So what do you guys got coming up?
Well, the Pledge Music campaign that we did for the Sheep Among Wolves album was exhausting because we did all the work ourselves, including all the fulfillment. You can't imagine all that goes into doing what was for us a 20th anniversary album campaign. So it was our 10th album to celebrate 20 years, and we pulled out all the stops. We did a full tour. We did all kinds of packages for fans where some of them could even be the 5th band member in the band for a day.
Sweet.
Some of them wrote songs with us in person. Some wrote songs on the internet. We did every crazy merchandise package you could imagine, all kinds of experiences. So we wrapped that up a few months back, and since then we've been sort of just catching our breath. And in the interim, I'm actually launching a new podcast that's called Pioneers Podcast on Patreon, and it's a podcast for creative people, essentially, and it's looking at my creative journey and the journey of the band, as well as I'm also a graphic designer and an author, as well as a journalist. So I've worn a lot of creative hats and communicative hats over the years, and I'm trying to use my 2 decades plus of experience in these various industries to speak into other people's lives who are trying to use their voices to communicate with the world, to tell their stories. And so I've got a lot of great guests lined up, everyone from Matt from The Classic Crime to Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter and dozens of others. And I'm just finishing the first episode right now. And if you want to find out more, actually, here's my shameless plug. You can go to project86.com or you can go to patreon.com and type in Pioneers Podcast. Find out more about this endeavor.
That is super cool, dude. I love to hear that. And I'm going to have to tune in and catch me some of that podcast as well. I'm a fan of Demon Hunter and stuff and Project 86. So I'm sure you guys are going to be talking about a lot of stuff that I would enjoy. But at this time of the interview, I always like to ask the guest about your Jesus moment. When was it that you decided that, you know, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to do it for the Lord? And like, what brought you into, because obviously Project 86 is a big following, not just in the Christian world, but also in the secular world as well. You guys are big on the club scene and stuff. So, but what was it to you that said, you know what, I'm going to sell out to God and I want to do Christian music?
Oh, that's a good question. Again, I'm documenting my story as a part of this podcast as well, so this is a really good question. My first episode is going to be covering a lot of this in detail in terms of my story, and that'll be going live in the next 48 hours or so. If you you just go to project86.com, you can hear more about this. But I'll give you the summary statement. I didn't grow up in the church. I actually grew up Catholic, so I didn't grow up in the evangelical church. But I became a born-again Christian when I was in high school. And I had a friend who was playing in a band when I was in college. There's this guy named Jason, this really crazy guy who had burned all of his secular CDs and only listened to Christian music. And I thought that idea was just absolutely ridiculous. I thought the idea of Christian rock music was just, like, for lack of better terms, silly, you know. Mm-hmm. And he took me to a Christian bookstore when I was in college. This was many years ago, and showed me a bunch of bands. And I was like, yeah, some of this is okay, but I don't see myself getting into this the way that you're into it. You know, at the time I listened to, you know, name XYZ alternative and rock bands back then, whether it was, you know, Soundgarden or Rage Against the Machine or Tool or anything like that. But what really kind of piqued my interest was when I went to a show. And this was back in the days when Tooth and Nail Records just started, so a lot of those bands were playing shows in my area in Southern California. I went and saw Plank Eye and Focused and a bunch of other bands play. And when I went to that show and I saw the environment, that there was like a legitimate scene surrounding these bands and the energy that was at the show, I was like, man, so you can actually be like a Christian and play like authentic music that's not like cheesy or lame, and do it in a way where you have your own sound and it's just honest. And that was what sort of lit the fire for me, is going to a show and seeing it live. And like I said, when I started Project, you know, the goal was not to be like the Christian version of this or that. It was really just to play honest music. And if you're really a Christian, like, I don't believe you have to approach it like we're going to be, you know, a worship band, or we're going to be just playing churches, or just play for Christians and preach from stage or anything like that. I really think like you can do it in an authentic, professional way and allow the music to speak for itself, and your worldview and your beliefs and your faith will naturally sort of come out through that, because the music is the ultimate communicator of your message, you know? And so, yeah, I think a combination of experiences, having sort of a vibrant faith and wanting to make authentic, real music, honest music from a genuine place was really the magical formula for our band.
That's awesome. You know, and the thing about it is, you know, so many times when we do stuff, we don't realize where God's going to take us in these projects and stuff. And so, like you said, you know, you went to a show and stuff. So what was the time like? Can you, like, focus in on one time where you seen that, like, somebody really came up to you and said, hey, you know, your music really touched me and made me realize that there's more to it out there?
Oh gosh, you mean like a almost like a conversion type experience as a result of the music? Oh man, I have to think about this, because that moment doesn't always take place at the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? A lot of times it's like you get an email, you know,
exactly,
5 years later from someone saying, hey, I was going through a divorce, or I was going, you know, I've had these emails come through. I was on the brink of killing myself, and I put on your song, and it changed my mind. You know, or I was going through this addiction and I was at a low point in my life, and your music really got me through that. You know, I'm trying to think of one moment where I was at a show and somebody came up to me and said something. There was a specific moment about 15 years ago where we were playing a show in Maine, and a guy came up to me before we played. No, it was after the show. He came up to me. And he had been telling me he had been dealing with a drug addiction, and that he had just recently gotten out of rehab, and he had overdosed and really came within an inch of his life. And we had a really heart-to-heart conversation that evening for like an hour after the show, and I was kind of walking him through, and he was telling me specific songs that he liked, and I was kind of saying, you know, explaining what those songs were about and how they sort of related to his story, etc. I remember praying with that guy after the show, and just, you know, him telling me basically that, you know, he was ready to change his life completely, you know. And I remember hearing from him like 6 months after that, and him saying that his life was on a better track, and that, you know, he was doing better and he wasn't doing drugs anymore, etc. I've had a lot of stories over the years of people who deal with various addictions who seem to find some refuge in Project 86's music. That's definitely a theme in a lot of our material. In one of my books, actually, it's all downhill from here. It's a book that I wrote a long time ago. I actually go into greater detail on that story and just contrast that to someone who was a Christian who came to the show and didn't think that we were Christian enough. And so he came to the show with his 2 kids just to tell us that he wasn't coming to the show because we weren't Christian enough.
Right.
And then I was legitimately discouraged by that going on stage, and then we did our show, and then that guy came up to me afterwards, and I had that moment with him. So that was 2 totally contrasting experiences, but it was almost as if God was saying, hey, you're doing some good. Don't get too down on yourself if somebody doesn't think that you're spiritual enough for them. You're spiritual enough for me to use. So.
And that's awesome. I love that story right there because you are absolutely 100% correct. A lot of times, been doing this, like I said, from the 90s, and you as well. I don't know how many times, even when I was in high school and I brought Stropper to Hell with the Devil to church, and I got set down by the pastor and got the story of false prophets, and I'm like, wait a minute here. It's okay for me to listen to Motley Crue and Rat, but I bring a Christian rock album in here, and you guys start talking about false prophets. So I can totally get where you're at. A lot of the times, the church world will be like, oh, well, you guys aren't Christian enough, or you don't look like Christian. So they push us out of the scene because they don't want us there. And then you hear on the streets when somebody's like, man, your music saved me from addiction, or your music kept me from killing myself that night. And then you realize, it's like, that's why God sent me here to do what I'm doing right now.
100%. Yeah, you summed it up really well. I think that's the summary statement. It's like, if you put yourself in a position to just be available and to speak from an honest place, no matter where you're at in life, I believe that, something divine can happen as long as you have your eyes open and your heart open and are attuned to the needs of others around you. And you don't necessarily need to do that from a stage. You don't necessarily have to be in a band for that to happen, or to be a speaker, or to be some sort of, public persona. I think, the most powerful ways that God uses people are in everyday situations, where someone's going through something difficult, and you have the ability to reach out to that person through some kind act or loving words, and then God uses that to comfort someone. I think that's where God speaks most often.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's what I'm getting at. A band like Project 86 that's been there for 2 decades now has seen the up and the fall of the music industry and the rock industry, the Christian rock industry and stuff. And you've been able to walk through and seen people whose lives have been totally changed. Man, we thank you guys so much for being a part of the show tonight. And I love that you have a podcast. Again, let everybody know where they can get that podcast and when it goes up.
For sure. And again, just to reiterate, if you are just tuning in or you didn't catch it earlier, I'm launching a brand new podcast. This is Andrew Schwab, the vocalist from Project 86. It's called Pioneers Podcast, Finding Your Creative Voice. And it's me talking about my story and using the knowledge and the experiences that I've gained over the last couple of years touring the world and doing music professionally, being a graphic designer, being an author, etc., and having on loads of special guests to tell our stories and using our stories to help you tell your story to the world. So if that sounds interesting to you, just visit project86.com. You'll find out more details there, or you can go to patreon.com and just type in Pioneers Podcast. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So when you guys going back out on the road, you got anything coming up?
Our next show is in January. We will be playing a one-off at a festival in Pennsylvania. We're not a band that tours, 12 months out of the year, 360 shows. We've been touring a lot more in Europe the last year or so, and playing select spot dates and festivals in the States. But we're always looking for opportunities to get out there and play. So I'm sure there'll be more dates forthcoming. And if you're interested, just visit us at project86.com and go to our tour dates.
Cool. We'd love you have you come back here to Oklahoma. We got to have some Project 86 here as well in the Midwest.
Yeah, man. Lots of great shows over the years in Oklahoma.
Yeah, we definitely got to get you guys back in here. But before I let you go, man, I've loved to pray with you. Is that cool?
Yeah, sure, man.
Father God, we love you so much, Father, and we're praying for Project 86, for Andrew's new project he's got going on as well for the podcast, Father, that you will guide him in your ways for this, Father, and let it be a tool to which it'll help reach people and let your light shine through it, Father God. Let this be an opportunity for just the witness and to his story to go out to, like I said, to help people with addictions and whatever it may be, Father God. We pray for Project 86 for another 2 decades worth of music and to be with us, Father, and to just to carry on. And we ask all these wonderful names in your name we pray. Amen. So, again, thank you so much, Andrew, for coming on and being a part of the show with us tonight. Big Project 86 fans here in Oklahoma. And also, I know if I didn't say something about Stephen Doris, which he may be the biggest Project 86 fan I've ever known in my life. He used to DJ at one of the Christian radio stations here. He's in Portland, Oregon these days. And when I told him that we were interviewing, he just totally freaked out. So, yeah, he's a big fan. He's a big fan, so I had to give him his props to let him know that Project 86 is his band, and so he was excited about that. And we look forward to hearing some more Project 86 stuff. And when you got anything going on close to Oklahoma, you definitely have to get it hooked up, and we want to come and hang out with you guys.
All right, will do, brother. Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you so much. Get into the music. This is some Project 86, Fall, Goliath Fall on KOUJ 107.1 FM, KOUJ.org.
As we raise our challenges to fall and combat.